This is kind of a fun one, and I'm going to lead off on this one, Brian. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. All right, this is from Ryan. Any chance of getting a punt returner in there who can, wait for it, return punts? It was perfect timing, by the way, for you to drink that. I'm sure Kelly won't trust a true freshman, but any thoughts on Lorenzo Styles there, or maybe even Keys? That was perfect timing, just for a live YouTube and Facebook. But anyway, I'm going to take this one. In order for there to be any kind of thought about anybody returning punts of any kind of dynamic nature, they're going to have to change their entire philosophy on what they believe in as a punt returning team. And the unfortunate part is the trend in college football right now is to just play it safe, get the ball over to your offense. And it's unfortunate. I'm not a fan of that personally. I think special teams can be a huge part in what you want to do offensively. I would find one of my more dynamic, sure-handed, but dynamic guys back there and give him the instruction. Like, look, if you got a fair catch, that's fine. Don't be one of those guys, like this is the XFL and there's no fair catches allowed. Like, I don't want that. But I personally love the return game, whether it's kick returning or punt returning. I think they've turned the corner a little bit in the kick return game. But if you notice in the semifinal game, as soon as Chris Tyree bobbled that other one, there was no way they were letting him even return one. So, I don't see their philosophy changing anytime soon, personally. It would take a philosophy shift in order for that to happen. And I personally don't see it happening.
I don't either, but I'm also not as worried about it as maybe some other people are. For me, my philosophy wouldn't be more about let's set up punt returns, because the way that teams punt now, it's meant to not let. I mean, the reason they do the with the three guys in the back and the personal protectors the way that they do now is because they want to allow their gunners to get downfield faster.
Right.
And so those three big guys, and Notre Dame does this. It's meant because if you beat your first guy, there's no free run to the punter like it used to be. And so teams don't have to protect with their whole front as much as they used to. And then they would just have the two outside guys. And if you beat the two outside gunners, you were gone. It's not that way anymore. And so teams have gotten smarter in how they punt, which has impacted to me how you can return. Sure. I mean, when you look at like the top punt returning teams in the nation this past season, a lot of them are group of 5 schools. Alabama had a top 10 punt return team, but they had Devontae Smith, and to me, punt returning, the argument on punt returning is a little different than the one on receiver, because we've talked about Devontae Smith is a brilliant receiver, but they also did great things schematically to get him open. There's not as much you can do as a punt returner. I think for me, my philosophy is I want to see them be more aggressive going to block punts, because to me, that's how you get better returns. And it happens twofold. Number one is you get punters that panic. So we saw the punter in the Super Bowl, right? Like that guy had been great all year and then gets Super Bowl and he can't punt anymore, right? Because that's a pressure situation. and those aren't guys that are used to that kind of pressure situation. So number one, you see this guy on film and he's seen you block 2 or 3 kicks. He's thinking, I got to get this thing off. It's no different than a quarterback that watches a team have like 12 sacks the week before. You know what I mean? His internal clock can get sped up. The more a punter has to rush, the more there's a chance he hits a line drive. Line drives are really what set up big punts. You either, line drives or he overkicks it. And that can happen too. He kicks it too far and he outkicks the coverage.
Yep.
The other part of it too is if you're really athletic in your punt block and you're really aggressive in your punt block, then what's going to happen is now teams are naturally going to say, well, we need to make sure we're more focused on protection and we can't let guys run without making sure we get that first line protected a little bit better. And so to me, if I had a situation where I had the athletes that Notre Dame has, a linebacker and wide receiver and corner at safety, where you've got, the one thing Notre Dame has a lot of in the secondary, we don't know if they have a lot of proven players, but there's a lot of length. I don't know if Ramon Henderson can cover or play corner, but I do know he's about 6'2" and friggin' fast.
Yep, absolutely.
Put him on the edge of your punt block team and say, go, and just Osita Ekwonu. All those guys. You got really long athletic guys. Cam Hart. Let them go after it, because that's going to me, where you're going to set up more opportunities in the return game is being more aggressive with your actual punt pressure package. And, and then you get a guy back there like a Lorenzo Styles or a Lawrence Keys. And here's the frustrating thing for me is we saw Chris Fink drop punts and fumble the ball, and he never got benched. But when Lawrence Keys does it, he's gone.
He gone.
There's like this thing where Brian Kelly has this weird thing where he has a shorter leash for younger, unproven players than he does veterans.
Yeah.
And it's like, if anything, it should be the opposite, where like, you're a veteran, you should know better.
Right.
But it's like you can't let you got to allow Lawrence Keys to be willing to make a mistake. Chris Tyree bobbles a punt. Okay, that sucks. But you know what? Why would you want to do that? Because he's the kind of kid that he just needs that one return. Maybe he gets caught at the 15 the next time and the 19 the next time, but then the next time he's housing it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing but that's Brian Kelly's whole mentality though. He is so afraid of his team making a mistake that he almost kind of paralyzes them.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. You
they
can't
don't play
be
loose.
And I'll say this. Late in the year, I think it was after the Georgia Tech game, before the Georgia Tech game, getting ready to go play Clemson, Brian Kelly went into the team. I was told this by a couple sources, and he said, hey, look, we got to stop being afraid. We got to stop being afraid to make mistakes. We got to just go play. And that next couple of weeks, we saw Notre Dame flat out ball. They went and beat Clemson, smacked Boston College, smacked North Carolina, and that was as good as we've seen Notre Dame play in a while, right? And then we kind of went away from that and went back to conservative ball and all those kind of things, and we saw the same disappointing product we saw early in the season. And if Brian Kelly could take that philosophy and just have it all the time, hey, if your quarterback throws a mistake trying to be aggressive, okay, you live with it. Now, if he's doing it 2-3 times a game, okay, yeah, you got to make a change, but you can't have guys so afraid to make a mistake, and then when they make a mistake, they're like, who's coming in for me, And from what I have been told, that's something that Marcus Freeman has said right away. Like, I don't want you to make mistakes, but I also don't want you looking over your shoulder when you make one, and I think that's the way to go. There's got to be an accountability for mistakes, but it's not one mistake. It gets a sophomore bench, but when a senior makes the same mistake, it doesn't have the same impact.